Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy time zone, everybody. This is the Road to Dusk. You can call me Road, Dusk, anything that you would call a friend. I am a dream musher, so I focus on sleep, dreams, and the imagination to help create an environment where people can learn to be the better versions of themselves. It's time to hop into Conlang again with the second installment in this multi-part series on the Standard Reim Conlang Showcase. I'm super excited to show this to you all as we have plenty of other sections to work on. But for the sake of keeping things in palatable chunks, this video is going to focus on nouns, pronouns, and most noun and pronoun cases. Because of that, this video might be a bit shorter than the last, so bear with me on this. Now, Reim's pronouns are extensive, with singular and plural forms for first, second, and third person, as well as the demonstrative pronouns this and that, their plurals being these and those, respectively. All of these get changed into 4 main cases, but the most peculiar being a 5th case. This 5th case is specifically used for the relative case, but that's going to be something that we will focus on in a later video. For now, let's just focus on the 4 main cases: nominative, objective, nominative genitive, and objective genitive. Now, the nominative case is the case where the pronoun is the main subject of the sentence. Think like your typical I, you, he, she, and they. Similar to English, rather than separate accusative and dative cases, Reim uses the objective case to represent both the direct and indirect object of a sentence. This is your me, you, him, her, and them. Even more similar to English, which a lot of people don't realize, is that there is 2 forms of the genitive, the nominative and the objective. Your nominative being your my, and your objective being mine. But it's not exactly one-to-one in Reim, and we'll get into that in a little bit. To better understand the different pronoun cases, let's take a look at a few sentences. Namely, let's look at how you can say I love you in Reim, which uses the first person pronoun in the nominative, but the second person singular pronoun in the objective. I, Aya, love, Raisi, you, Naya, Aya Raisi Naya. In contrast, let's look at the sentence, my dog likes your dog, or more commonly in English we tend to say, my dog likes yours. In Reim, we would say, Arfe Meier ter ben Arfe Neider. Now, notice how we have Meier, which is the first person singular nominative genitive, in contrast to Nayarer, which is the second person singular objective genitive. This is an example of case agreement, where the case of the noun or the pronoun have to be the same when in the same phrase. This used to be easier to reference in Middle Reim, where pronouns, not just pronouns, maintained cases of various forms, but with the modern form of the language, this form of case agreement is considered a remnant. What case agreement means is that you can't mix your noun and pronoun cases together, or else the phrase and the sentence are not going to make sense grammatically. Take, for example, when we look at potentially mixing some of the different forms of pronouns and mixing up the 2 different forms of the genitive together. While in English we would very easily say, I'm going to my friend's house, it gets a little more complicated due to case agreement in Reim. While in Reim, to translate the sentence literally, we could say, with Meirer being the objective genitive. We cannot use the nominative genitive in that case. We cannot say, Meier, namely because Meier is used specifically when talking about the subject of something, not the object of something. Because the object, in the case of this sentence, is the house, or more fully, the friend's house, or my friend's house. So, that whole phrase, my friend's house, is understood to be the object of the sentence and so has to be referred to as the object. How do we do that? By the objective case combined with the genitive for the phrase. Hence, maierer. If you want to double check on what all the pronouns are, be sure to check out the first slide, which has the complete list. But what's with that extra AR at the end of friend? Typically the word reimzug, friend, is just that, reimzug. Is it another form of case agreement? Yes and no. Case agreement can occur with this, but this is the one time that a noun can still have casing. And that is in the genitive case. There are two common ways of defining possession or the genitive aspect of a noun in Reim. One of the most common ways is using the preposition auf, or, also pretty common, is using the conjugation of ar, or ad, yar, various ways that it can be incorporated depending on vowel harmony, which we discussed last time. Now, the genitive case of nouns is used specifically to exemplify that there is an active, intangible possession that cannot be easily changed. Now, there are 6 forms of noun that can take the genitive case, especially in relation to certain characteristics that we are defining. One being living creatures in relation to their body parts. The second being deities and any items deemed sacred to and associated with them, including living creatures. Any culturally significant figures or titles to their specialized items. Aspects related to a language. A person's emotions and actions. And housing, food, and other basic rights such as means of transportation. So we have a few examples over on the right here. Let's read through them. In accordance to being one example for every kind of noun being able to receive the genitive case, as I said earlier. So we have the dog's leg, or konim arfiar. We have the residence of the god, Guide Bishiv Heimanar. We have the soldier's sword, Posre Patrimar. We have the language of the dream ushers, or Kaska Pegramneriar. We have the hero's betrayal. More specifically, this word that is mentioned in regards to betrayal is the action of betrayal, not a feeling of betrayal. Megadok Reimedar. Finally, we have my friend's house. Beshiv Sogar Mayer. Obviously put in the nominative genitive now in this case. Outside of the aspect of possession, nouns in Reim take little to no casing. Look at the exact same in the nominative as they do in the genitive. However, this does mean that the word order tends to be more rigid, with prepositions used to exemplify whether a noun is a subject, direct object, or indirect object. Though in lyrics and in poetry, you can have a little more freedom in where words are placed. To better understand what I mean with direct object and indirect object here, here's how you can tell the difference between the two, not only in Reim, but also in English. Let's do a simple sentence and go back to talking about animals. So we have the sentence, I give the cat a snack, or in Reim, I hag en nigurel kenmir. Let's ask ourselves the question, who or what am I giving the snack to? If we change the sentence a little bit and move things around, we get our answer. But let's go through the hints first. So our first hint is indirect objects can be noted in English with to and or for. With that, we also know that ni in Reim means to. So we have a heavy reliance on prepositions here. And hint 3, similar to what I said earlier, rephrasing the sentence can help us to better find the answer. So let's move some of the words around. Specifically, let's switch the placements of kenmir, snack, and negrel, to the cat. So moving those around, we have I hag kenmir negrel. or I give a snack to the cat. So what is the direct object here? Well, if a direct object is a noun directly interacted with by the subject being me, I give a snack. I am directly interacting with a snack in my hand. Well, implied in my hand. And the indirect object in this case is a noun that is being acted towards, a noun that the subject is going to or doing for. There is a motion going to the indirect object. And we have a motion going to what? The cat. To the cat. Ni gurao. So, aye, that is the nominative. We have the subject. Hage kenmir. Give a snack. The snack, direct object. Ni gurao. To the cat. To the indirect object. And that's it for this video. Thanks so much for sticking around. Next video, we'll be going over verbs, verb conjugations, as well as an introduction to adjectives and adverbs. Get ready, because, oh boy, we have some irregular verbs and multiple adjective declensions. See you soon! Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. If you haven't already, be sure to take a look at all of our streaming platforms, our socials, and our official Discord server. Do know that while this is the end of the video, this is not the end of our time together, as the road to Dusk will always be open for another adventure. Please have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is in your time zone, as we say. Diora. Bye-bye.